Hello everybody, welcome on back to another filler art video. Today's topic is going to be Blazyperior and Rhyperior. See how it goes. Alright, so I'm not even gonna lie, this is like the third time that I tried making something with this concept. For the life of me, I couldn't think of anything, so if it's not already apparent based off of this, I kind of just went for a armored Digivolution type of thing. I know, like Super Pokemon, right? But in the end, it was the only thing I could really think of was more or less just keeping Blaziken and just directly giving it elements from Rhyperior's design. So, fairly obviously, we can tell that it's got the forehead horn that we get from Rhyperior's line between it and Rhydon. Right here, I just, for the life of me, couldn't get a good proportion for that forearm. Finally settled on something that was close enough that I liked. Then Bird Hand and his puffy shoulders. This one was fun in a tricky way because I decided I was going to play around with some proportion related stuff that I don't normally do. Right here, I was just using a straight line tool to make sure that the angular nature of those pelvic rocks stayed as angular as they were. In the end, it almost ends up looking like a topaz because of the color that I ended up using. I don't know, really not much to say on this one, since it's more or less just Blaziken with some parts stapled on from Rhyperior, so. Oh, try to not keep any dead air here. Blaziken. I don't really have many stories for Blaziken. I mean, my Gen 3 starter was always Swampert line with Mudkip. Even when I went back and played Oris, I want to say I went and I picked Swampert again. I wanted to do the nostalgia thing when the remake came out. I might pick Blaziken if we ever get a chance to play with him as a part of the story team again. As for now, I'm not huge on the competitive battling scene like I was doing when I was in like high school and middle school, and I like his design, just I like other mons a little bit more. Regardless, I do think that the way that this ended up turning out went pretty well, considering the whole third iteration. So now we're doing the color picking and matching to kind of get everything where we want it to be at for the design. I originally went with this darker color for what I had for a blaster arm, but then after doing this primary shading and what have you, I didn't quite look or like the whole fold of the purplish gray rock. So as you see here, I end up going through and recoloring it to match some of those pelvic gems. And then right here, I was trying to play around with the different colors of line art. And even me looking back on it now, I can say that didn't look very great. Because I was using the blaster as the early detection for how it was going to look. Now we're going in, we're keeping Blaziken's eye colors, we're gonna see about giving his talons some color. Help kind of differentiate that it is in fact his talons that we're looking at. I went with Rhyperior's fingernails? Claws, fingernails. For the handle of the drill spear, but then went with the actual color coming off of the facial drill for the horn spike and the spearhead itself. Now I'm going through and I'm kind of just touching up colors, making sure that there's as little dead space around the line art as possible. In the final product, it's next to impossible to see any of these imperfections anyway, so it wasn't 100% necessary, but it feels good on the soul, you know, making sure that everything's complete. Next up, this is where I do that shading trick that I like to do, the black and white masking. You'll see in a bit what that gray I put blotched off to the side is for. It ends up not being used in the final product, but it was a good idea at the time. I might use it as a method on something later. Just for this design, I wasn't quite liking how that initial attempt with it went. But as we're going through here, you can see that I'm kind of going for these comic noir shades. I'm not great at it still, so it's not fantastic by any means. But you can see that it's going for a really heavily shaded a heavily shaded look, given the idea that there's a frontal light source. Now here is where I'm going with that other layer with the gray. Now, if I would have been doing something that was already kind of a grayscale, where I could have just done this as part of the coloring process, I might have liked it a little bit better. But in the end, and you'll see it, but in the end, it just wasn't quite looking right. And part of that too could have been because I kind of blorked up and had it overlapping a little too much with the black in certain spots, and I was already kind of afraid that it was going to bleed a little too much. If I would have stuck to my guns, it probably would have looked a lot better. But here I am going through with my white layer to get these highlights. Just little strokes here and there, except for where we need these bigger, light shimmering kind of looking areas. Like right here, on the tip of that drill spear. Ooh, I'm very sorry. As you see here, I'm kind of now just going through and kind of smoothing out those edges. You don't want the lighting to be too terribly harsh. I've never really liked a harsh light. And you see this gray layer at least made it through to the blending stages before I decided I was just going to give up on it. And I really do think a lot of that kind of just came down in part to me having over-erased some of the edges, because I feel like the blending could have gone and made it really good. But in the end, I kind of just got rid of it. Left it for the dual tone highlight, low light. Which, all things considered, not too bad. We'll just have to experiment a little bit more in a later project. But here we go, all wrapped up on the shading. And with that, we are done with today's video. If you liked what you saw here, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell and hit the like button down below. If there's something you'd like to see in a future video, comment down below as to what you'd like to see. If you just want to see more of these art videos, I have a playlist that I will link down below with my entire progression. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Bye!